Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Courtside Soundoff podcast once again. I'm Josh Evanoff. Welcome, as always, by the one and only Angel Ortega. A lot to talk about this week. Not a whole lot in terms of MMA news. There's obviously no events going on, no Bellator, no UFC. There's some rising going down this weekend, but not a whole lot of actual consequence. However, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Soundoff Awards. It is the third annual Soundoff Awards, I believe. I may be off. It's third or fourth. Honestly, Angel, I don't count. Do you know which one it is?
If we're including the year we started, which wouldn't technically be a full year, that'd be one. And then our following year, which would have been officially year one, at the end of that year two. And then our second year doing this, which technically would be our third time doing the awards. So yes.
So a little bit complicated, but you guys got the breakdown now.
It's our third time doing awards. It hasn't been exactly year by year.
Okay, alright, cool. So it sounds good. But yeah, guys, as always, we're going to do the Soundoff Awards. We're also going to give our predictions for all the UFC weight class champions. This is something that we did at the start of 2020. I thought was a really cool idea. But then obviously COVID really fucked things up. So we didn't even really count that. Obviously you guys can go back and listen, and I'm pretty sure they were almost all wrong because a lot of the guys just couldn't fit in a fight or two, or just a whole lot of shit happened. However, 2022 is shaping up to be a huge year. Obviously, things have been back normal for a while, which is why we didn't, at the start of this year, things are still fucked up, which is why we didn't predict them this year. But we're going to be giving our predictions for all the UFC weight class champions, getting all our Soundoff Awards. I will talk a little bit of news at the end of the show. Before we get all into that, tell you guys, as always, if you want 10% off your orders, go to soundoff at rogueenergy.com. Obviously, they got energy drinks, I know they've kind of worked in the little protein shakes, which for somebody that's going to the gym, nice shit as well. Very, very nice. It's code Soundoff at checkout for 10% of all your energy needs. RogueEnergy.com. Fantastic sponsor of this show. As always, Angel, my guy, are you ready to break into these awards?
I fucking am, dude. I fucking am.
All right, man. I know we've been excited for this. Honestly, it's one of the things I look forward to at the end of the year. So there's no bigger way to kick off the Soundoff Awards. The last 12 months have been crazy for MMA. They've been crazy for boxing. And so if we were to go ahead and pick one event, this is the event of the year that stands out across, and now this can be quantified through a bunch of different ways, personally, just your personal favorite event of the year, the one that you had the most fun with. What would you say is your event of 2021?
And I'll give my one that, and I'm going to actually go with the one I wanted to say. Because, earlier I was telling you, I think this is a hipster pick. I think a lot of people would have picked 268, 269. I was actually originally going to pick 269. Granted, there might have been some recency bias in there, but I legitimately think it was one of the best events of the year. I'm actually going to pick UFC 267, Josh, as my event of the year.
Oh, shit. That's a nice pick. Obviously Glover capturing the title, Petr Yan, Corey Sandhagen having an absolute banger. Yeah, that's honestly an underrated pick. And with also a free UFC pay-per-view. Well, yes, it wasn't a pay-per-view. It was a free UFC numbered event. And then we watched that one together at my house, correct?
That was another thing too. And it was Return of Hazmat.
Return of Hazmat. That's what I'm also thinking of. Islam also got a nice win on that. Yeah, that was a nice-ass card, dude. Top to bottom. There's not a whole lot better than UFC 267. So actually, that's a very good pick. I remember whenever that one was rolling around, I remember everybody's talking about 268, and I was like, guys, 267's arguably even better card.
That was me there for a bit until I got to live through both of them.
I know, man. It was a fun-ass card. And plus the fact I have a personal favorite. I have a personal, bias towards those cards that start earlier in the day. I actually really like that shit. But yeah, man, that's a nice pick. Obviously, you mentioned a couple of ones at UFC 268, 269, 267. I'm going to go back to earlier this year. I'm also going to give an honorable mention, but my pick for event of the year in terms of pure fun, pure craziness, the build-up, everything, UFC 264, Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 3. Obviously, on that one, the main event was crazy, the whole build-up. Fight didn't go the way you wanted in terms of a dramatic conclusion, obviously getting a finite definitive end to the trilogy. But even down the line, dude, Tai Tuivasa got a nice knockout win. Irene Aldana got a knockout win. Sean O'Malley, Chris Motino. Pahea, Nico Price was crazy. Ilia Topuria knocking out Ryan Hall. A whole lot of fun. Max Griffin, Carlos Condit. A whole bunch of crazy fights up and down that card. And, dude, like...
That was just an emotional night, dude, honestly, though.
It was. I believe that was, like, the first card I was hanging out with you and the boys. That was a fun-ass card, man. And just, like, the build-up. Obviously, I think because of how the fight ended, the main event, I think it's something that's, like, not really being considered. But, you know, just the build-up, the trash talk back and forth, it seems like we were essentially getting such a dramatic conclusion. And it was a dramatic end to the fight, just not a finite end to the trilogy or the, the rivalry.
Josh, what do you mean? This is not over. This is not over.
He'll fight him outside, even though, his leg's broke and he can't stand. He'll go fight. He'll see him outside. Yeah, man. Overall, still, that was a fun card. My backup card was UFC 261 in May, Jacksonville, Florida, with the first card back with fans, full attendance, because there was a couple ones at the start of the year that had fans, but, full attendance. That's the one that had 3 title fights. Every single fight on the main card ended in a finish. Kamaru knocked out Jorge. Rose knocked out Wei Lee. Shev knocked out Andrade. And then obviously Uriah Hall injury. He got the win from, of course, Weidman. And then also, Anthony Smith picking up a winner, So that was a really fun card. Top to bottom, just from the first fight, like that crowd was electric. So that's going to be a backup pick. But yeah, this is just my 2 honorable mentions. Ben, overall, there's no bad answers for this, or very few, anyways. At least for pay-per-views, dude. Like, this is a straight up banger of a year, at least as far as like events wise. They really loaded up on them and they kind of showed, man. But as far as this next one is going to be, a somewhat quick pick, I'd say. Upset of the year. Obviously, upsets, they're part of the game. Underdogs always coming through. It happens, honestly, in every single card. But if you were to go and say, pick one upset, which I'm sure I know what it is, but what would be your upset of 2021?
There's no bigger upset, Josh. It's Juliana Pena surprising the fucking world. You love to fucking see it, King.
Mm-hmm. For sure, man. There was one person on this planet that thought Juliana Pena was going to win that fight, and she's walking around with the belt right now, bro. Like, it was her, dude. Yeah, that's badass. Yeah, there's no other pick. For my money, it's in the top 3 of top UFC upsets of all time.
It's number 1, dude.
It's either that or Sarah GSP. But
I tell you, in hindsight, though, that's the thing with the Sarah GSP one. Because after the Sarah win, that's when he was who he was. Like I told you way back when we talked about it, I think GSP wasn't at the point where GSP is now at the end of his career when he lost to Sarah, opposed to where Amanda is at her career now, where it looks like she's closer to the end in comparison to where GSP was when he had that loss.
That's fair. It's definitely one of those losses that kind of ate. I feel like Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey is the opposite of that. You know what I mean? Like how that was a huge upset betting wise. But nowadays, like, oh yeah, no shit, Holly won that fight. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Which that happens sometimes. It's relatively rare. But yeah, I think the GSP Sarah ones that's aged really well in hindsight. Now, granted, it's still one of the biggest upsets of all time, even with counting that, just because at the time GSP was like the future. He had knocked out Hughes, and Sarah was still a really lowly regarded guy.
Yeah. Coming off that tough win. Yeah, right.
Yeah, he was coming off a tough. There's other ones you could throw in there. Bisping Rockhold 2, which is a really big one. Now I thought Bisping was going to win that fight just because I was the biggest Bisping homer on the planet, but still, it was still shocking to see, especially considering he came in a short notice and Luke beat his ass the first time. But yeah, overall, upset of the year. I'm in full agreement. This is literally nothing else you can pick. Like, I can't think of another upset that was more shocking to me or even comes in the same stratosphere of Juliana Pena defeating Amanda Nunes at UFC 266.
Dude, yeah. I don't even think Usyk and Joshua is even
that
comparable.
No, because I think the thing about Usyk was him beating AJ. It was like everybody knew it was possible, but it just comes here's the thing: had Usyk not had that previous fight where he fought Chizo Roa, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
He looked bad in that one. Had he just gone up from cruiserweight, I honestly legitimately believe a lot more people would have chosen him, like, going into that AJ fight. Just because he looked, I'm not sure if he was sick or something, or if it was just him adjusting the weight class. He did not look good in that Chisora fight. Yeah, I mean, obviously, he was an underdog, but it wasn't that crazy to see him win. I'd say that was more crazy was seeing him how he won. Like, that fight wasn't even close. That's essentially what it comes down to for me, but yeah, dude, Julian Adesanya defeating Man United, that's my upset of the year as well. Now this one's gonna be fun. Top 3 fights of the year. This has been a crazy year for MMA. Although I will say though, Angel, it's something we talked about on the show. We really didn't get a whole lot of fight of the year contenders until like the last 2 or 3 months. There were some good fights, but nothing really stood out. So I'm curious to see, what are your top 3 fights for 2021?
Oof. There's going to be a name that's going to be repeated in here, and I'm actually going to be curious how you feel about it. I think you might have. Just me saying that makes me wonder if you already know who it is.
I don't know.
But, I mean, my first one is Corey Sandhagen versus Peter Yan, man.
Ooh.
I mean, that was a fucking banger of a fight. Like, I remember sitting there and being like, dude, that was a great fucking fight. Like, right afterwards, I told you, I was like, that was fucking solid. I also have that followed by Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw.
That makes sense.
And then this one I didn't want to include, but everybody's gonna have it, is Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje.
Oh, okay.
I know, I kind of got boring there, right? But
you gotta include it though. It's such a good fight.
I mean, it's a good fight, but it's not. See, for me, it's like I felt like Chandler kind of goofed off, and he didn't fight the fight as well as he could have because he wanted to show off a little bit. I mean, for honorable mentions, I'll include Holloway versus Rodriguez. I thought that ended up being a fucking banger of a fight, especially how it started. Burgos Barbosa, and then like probably one that no one even remembers except like fucking me is Mike Davis versus Mason Jones.
Ooh,
that was on fight. That was Chiesa versus Magny fight night, if you remember that.
That's a nice ass pick, dude. That's a really nice list. I feel like the Petr Yan Corey Sandhagen fight's going to be underrated in this discussion. I don't have it in my top 3, but dude, people forget just how close that fight was, dude.
You're like in hindsight now, right?
Yeah, in hindsight. That's the one I honestly, I'm just going to rewatch. Like, I saw somebody on Reddit talking about it yesterday. I was going to go to the gym tonight. You know, I talked about like how I watch like UFC fights there. I was going to watch that one literally tonight. Because I saw somebody on Reddit talking about it. But yeah, dude, that's a tremendous fight. That's one that's very underrated in this sort of discussion. Because, dude, I legitimately believe. Now, I didn't think he won, but if you're watching with certain judging glasses, depending on what you're watching for, Corey Sandhagen might have gotten a backdoor win out of that. Am I crazy to think that?
We talked about it in the moment. We had questions, but we were always like, it leans this way, you know?
Yeah.
But we did have to say leans. It wasn't like a guaranteed, you know, a decisive, like that was a decisive this person round, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There was no real case for it. Outside of like one round, I think it was round 4 whenever Peter knocked him down. Outside of that, every single round was close. Yeah, dude, that's a nice pick. The TJ fight, also a very, very nice pick. I think part of that was that fight didn't have a whole lot of activity or a whole lot of, I'm not going to put it in there, but in terms of the drama, there's not a whole lot better you're going to get for that one. I mean, that was an insane fight. And then obviously Gaethje Chandler, you know, nice pick as well. You know, for my list personally, I got 3 of them. As always, same as you. Paul Daly versus Sabaho Masi. Bellator 257. That
was a fucking banger, yes.
Yeah, a 2-round war. Paul Daly getting the 2nd-round knockout. Dude, Sabaho Masi coming out just beating his ass early. I mean, like, Paul Daly, dude, one of the most durable guys in the game, getting absolutely washed out by Sabaho Masi. I mean, I was in shock. And then he turns the tide. He starts beating his ass. And they start going back and forth, and Paul Daly gets the knockout win. That's a fight that's going to be very underrated in this sort of conversation. Not a whole lot of people are really going to acknowledge it outside of us, but dude, that's one of my top 5 of the year. Number 2, Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez, UFC Vegas 42. This one, some insane momentum shifts, just both guys throwing everything out the wall. Max Holloway having to turn into a wrestler in the later rounds because his legs were so beat up. Truly an insane fight, a very, very fun one, and a fight that I really did not expect to go the way that it did. Just 2 dudes throwing everything at each other for the full 5 rounds, and that came near the end of the year, so maybe I'm biased.
That was a good one though, dude. No, I don't think you could even like say that. I think that fight ended up being better than what I thought. You remember, I thought he was gonna get fucking dominated, but Yair made us, you know, realize like, hey, motherfuckers, I'm still here, you know. Like with all his fuck ups, all his mistakes, he showed, hey, I'm still really good at this fighting thing.
Yeah, he made a very good account of himself, for sure. And honestly, dude, my last pick, I hate to say it, it's Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler, UFC 268. There's nothing, that fight, I get why you don't have it, like, you hate to put it in there. I hate to put it in there too.
I do, dude.
I hate to put it in there too.
Because for me, and I said it, dude, I thought it was going to turn into Eddie Alvarez versus Michael Chandler, like, taken down, fucking her, he gets dropped, I thought it was going to go like that, but then instead I get fucking Chandler coming out third round, throwing fucking spinning kicks in midair and not making any sort of contact.
Yeah, that's a fight that honestly, I have it, like if I were to rank these, funnily enough, if I were to rank these 3-1, I wasn't ranking it in any particular way, that was just like my top 3 fights in no order, I'd probably have it number 3. It was a fight that, as great as it was, the first 2 rounds are pure chaos. The third round was really not that. It looked like Gaethje thought he either won the first round or the second. I don't know how Gaethje thought he won the first round. I thought that was Chandler knew he got him out of
lit
there.
Up. Yeah, he got him lit up, yeah.
Yeah, but then round 2, he nearly finished Chandler. At round 3, Gaethje just took it off for the most part, and Chandler was just doing a lot of crazy shit. Like, he was shooting for takedowns. In between shooting for takedowns, he was throwing flying knees.
He's
and
hyping
doing a
up
lot
the crowd.
Exactly, and it was cool, but I was like, if you're going to hype up the crowd, you got to follow it up with something really cool.
Yes, and then for it to land.
And I thought that was a fight he could have pulled it out near the end.
Yeah,
man.
I thought the same thing. I thought he could have won that fight. He could have ended the year 2-1 over a win with Justin Gaethje. I mean, he had one of the best debuts this year. I mean, it's up there with Ian Barry and our boy Paddy Pimblett and some other people who made their debut this year.
It's funny because neither one of those guys I thought had the greatest debuts.
Really, neither 3 of those guys.
I mean, Chandler for sure. I think Chandler's far and away had the best debut. I mean,
he had a big following coming into it, and former Bellator. I mean, it's really hard to top that too,
Mm-hmm.
Because if, let's say, fucking Paddy Pimblett was coming off his fucking, championship tenure at Bellator, and he had all the hype he did from fucking Cage Warriors going to the UFC, and maybe fought a higher level opponent, I think we obviously get the same fucking praise, right? But all those guys are at different levels, though. It's funny because I think the levels go down perfectly. I think it goes Michael Chandler, Paddy Pimblett, and Ian Barry. Like, it's actually like the perfect fucking drop a level between each guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting though, because those are the 2 guys that got hyped up the most in terms of like, just debuts. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like, they came in with a lot of hype, and then obviously they got a nice win, but part of it is like, I can't really give, outside of Chandler, because I think, here's the thing, Chandler, it's easy to forget that he debuted this year. I think that's the biggest thing, because if people remember that he debuted this year, I mean, he knocked the shit out of Dan Hooker. Now, Dan Hooker lost twice after that, or once after that?
Yeah, obviously looking back at that, it's not that it hasn't aged well, but it's kind of like, Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily blame him for that, but I mean, he came in at the time, and I remember correctly, he was an underdog in that fight too, and he came in and he knocked out Dan Hooker immediately, and Dan Hooker still has one of the greatest chins in the game, so, I mean, there's other debuts, like, overall I'd put over it, but that's just, Who else made their debut this year? I can't think.
Umar Nurmagomedov made his debut this year. Aaron Blanchfield made her debut. There's a couple of others. Terrence McKinney made his debut. Those are just a couple of the ones.
I don't know if I put some of those above it,
I don't put anybody above Chandler. I think Chandler's far and away just because of the competition level.
Well, yeah. That's the other thing with that.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, overall, it's still very fun here. Those are our top 3 fights of the year. But dude, I understand your point. Not to bring it back real quick, I completely understand your point about the Chandler situation. He really threw that fight away. I mean, I think like, obviously he got a fight of the year contender. He got a lot of love for that. But I think if you ask him like a couple years down the line, because he's not going to get a UFC title shot anytime soon. I think that ship. I mean,
he'd have to go on a fucking run.
Yeah. I think that ship has sailed, honestly. And part of that is because that third round, I understand he was hurt and I understand he was gassed, but he did nothing. He let that fight slip away. So I think a couple of years from now, he's probably kicking himself. But obviously we've been talking about MMA for much entirely this segment. So we're going to give a little bit of shine to boxing. Angel, not a whole lot of boxing this year. A lot of the guys really only fought once, similar to last year, or they fought twice if we're lucky. Who is your boxer of the year?
Dude, I mean, it had or has to be. Honestly, okay, look, I was going to say Tank originally, but I'm going to say Canelo. Which is such like a... Because you can make that case for Canelo for the last, 3 years probably, now?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's
but
been
dude,
a while.
The thing is, you can't even really hate on the dude, because he boxed so much in a calendar year, leading from last year into this year, and then he's still doing it into next year.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Canelo is...
especially now, that he's, on his own. He's his own dude.
I don't remember who I had last year. I think I might have given it to Teofimo, which is a nice pick.
I think we both might have given it to Teofimo, because that was just a crazy...
unexpected thing,
Yes, the way he did it, too, and then with the Loma hype, and this stuff, just being so young, and it was such an emotional moment. And I think the year before that we did Manny. Which we've had different answers. Which we've had answers each year. So yeah, I think we're doing good.
Yeah, except for this year, because I'm also going to give it to Canelo Alvarez. There's no other person, in my opinion, that you can give it to. Now, I like Gervonta a lot, but I think, I'll say this. First win, Mario Barrios, awesome win, straight up. Great fight, one of my favorite fights of the year in terms of boxing. That second one, though, the Isaac Cruz fight, not only disappointing, but you can make the case that he lost that. I thought the scorecards were pretty ridiculous in terms of how
that was a fun one,
far apart they were. That was it was kind of fun, but disappointing showing against a guy that's not. I like Isaac Cruz.
Hey man, I'm just gonna say you need to go look at some of his wins, dude. I forgot who he fought. He put him out in the first round, and Teofimo fought the same guy.
He beat Francisco Vargas. He beat another guy that I can't remember. But the Vargas win is by far the biggest one of his career.
I think, what is it called? I think he also fought, didn't Teofimo also fight Vargas? Or am I thinking of somebody? I know they have a common opponent.
Dude, everybody's fought Vargas at this point.
Dude, well, the thing is, they have a common opponent. I don't know who it is, but Cruz put him out in the first, and I think Teofimo, he took him the distance.
I don't know. I just know that, Isaac Cruz is the reason why he's a good guy, but he's very inexperienced, which is why he's disappointed that fight was so close. That being said, I like Gervonta, but I just can't give it to him. Canelo, dude.
I mean, if he had another solid win in there, I think it would have been chill.
You can make a better case, but he just didn't. I think you got to give it to Canelo, dude. I mean, to do what he did in a calendar year, nobody in boxing fights more than twice. You're lucky if you get him twice.
I mean, you could say Usyk too.
You could, but it comes down to whether or not you appreciate. Hold on, was that Chisora fight in 2020 or 2021?
That's a good point.
Because if it was in 2020, I mean, one fight in 2021? Yeah, he only had one fight in 2021, the AJ win.
Okay,
that's the only one.
I didn't know if he had fought twice this year for some reason.
That's a nice win, but dude, Canelo to go 3-0. Now, obviously, on Yildirim, I don't really give a shit about, but for him to knock out Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant
and unify the titles.
Unify the titles, like you said. Super, super impressive. We got to give it to Canelo. 3 fights in 2021. Very rare, very, unordinary out of, a boxer. You don't really see that shit that often. But yeah, dude, I mean, moving on, we gave our shine to the boxers. Now it's time to give our shine specifically to the MMA fighters. Angel, I feel there's a lot of different picks. We divided up, as we've done previously, into females and males. So we're going to go ahead and start with the female category. I think there's a lot of different picks this one. I really don't think there's a wrong pick for this one either. But who do you got for female fighter of the year?
You can pick any of the ladies this year, and I don't think they're a bad answer. You can pick Rose, you can pick Valentina, you can pick Juliana, and I think that you can make a good case for them. I picked Valentina just because I'm like, she stayed as champ, she defended her title twice, she did what she had to do. You can't really hate on her for just doing what she does best, right?
Yeah.
Both were finishes. She continues her title reign. I mean, it's awesome. Like I said, you can also put Rose up there, right? Winning the title back, defending the title back. Granted, though, it was against the same opponent. You can argue about the fucking rematch, all this, and that. You know what I mean? Juliana obviously beating, the greatest woman fighter of all time without argument, right? I'll argue it just for the sake of arguing. But
she's without a doubt the greatest.
I like arguing for sake of arguing, okay?
I can tell, dude, because there's no fucking way you can argue.
You're just sad that Chris Cyborg can beat you up, Josh. It's just it's okay to feel weak.
She 100% can beat me up, but like I've never. How can you claim you're the greatest whenever the only other GOAT contender knocked you fucking like she, dude, she was singing Stars, bro. Okay,
hey, it's just one loss. It's only one loss, Josh.
You're right. It's only one loss to the other GOAT contender. She got put out flat by the only other person in contention. It's not even a contest at that point.
Hey, they only got to fight one time. My issue will always be that they never got to run it back. I would always want to know what happened in the second.
Like the UFC then.
Like I said last time, UFC should have bullied Cyborg.
You said the UFC shouldn't have released Cyborg?
Should have bullied Cyborg.
Oh,
I said that the last time when we got into this. Repeating the conversation.
It was pretty both ways. Also, the UFC was a dick for the most part, but then once.
Hey, but being a bully ain't cool.
You're right. Being a bully is not cool, and that's our bullying message for the week. You know, we're trying to do good things out here, guys. We're doing an anti-bullying message. No, but yeah, dude. You give me Valentina, nice pick. I think part of it, my issue with Valentina is always. I think I gave it to her last year, but I think with Valentina is it's really the lack of competition. She did beat Andrade, which was a nice win, but with the exception of that, I mean, I like Lauren Murphy a lot, but it's
I mean, who else was she gonna fight? You know what I mean?
It's not her fault. It's not her fault, but I am not going to give her Fighter of the Year. I'm going to give it to Juliana Pena, dude. 2-0 in 2021, choked out Sarah McMahon, turns right around in a fight where nobody thought she could win, and she beats the GOAT. You know, she went from being like an afterthought to start the year to ending the year as champ. I mean, that's rare to see. Because nobody was even talking about her before this year. Not even at all. Because you remember, she was coming off of 2020 where she got choked out by Duranity. And honestly, a really embarrassing fight. So, that's still the only win.
She lost to a kickboxer.
Exactly. That's the only win by submission in Duranity's career, I believe.
She's the grappler.
Exactly. And so for her to come off that super embarrassing loss rather, to winning 2 in a row, breaking back into the top 10, breaking back into the top 5, winning the title, beating the GOAT. Very, very impressive. But in terms of male fighter of the year, I think there's a couple of different options. There's a clear one though. Let you go ahead and go.
It's a clear one. It's a clear one that I don't like too.
Oh, well, go ahead and give your fighter of the year.
I almost want to change it right now. I almost want to say Oliveira, just so you know. Am I going to pick Oliveira? That's a different question. The correct answer is probably Kamaru Usman. Do I want to say it? No, I really don't. But I have to say it because it's the right answer. I think there's a solid argument for Oliveira. I want to pick Oliveira, but it's like, fuck, man. I think the right answer, as someone who's in the space, I should say Kamaru Usman. And I don't want to say it. I really don't.
I know you don't want to say it, but I like Oliveira a lot, man. I really do. I've loved his rise. We've touted this man's rise for a long time because I want to say his entire rise, his entire winning streak has come within the confines of this show. I think the last time he lost was whenever his winning streak started was right whenever the show started. So, Wait, are you going to say Oliveira, or who are you going to say, actually? I don't know if I got mixed up there. I'm going to say Kamaru Usman. I hate it. Don't you fucking hate it? I would love to give it to Oliveira, but that says a whole lot about Usman's character to where we can't argue against it.
Right? I mean, that's the one thing, too. That's the reason I'm saying it, too. You know what I mean? You legitimately can't argue. Here's the thing. To go from... He ended the year as champion, but he didn't end the year as some overly crazy, unstoppable champion, right? He came in, he defended the title against Colby, he defended it against Jorge in his only fight previous, and the only fight that he happened, that was the only fight of his for 2020 was the Jorge one, and that fight sucked. So he comes into the year. It was the worst fight, actually. He's champion, nobody gives a shit about him. For the most part, a lot of people thought he was going to lose to Gilbert Burns. He knocks the fuck out of Gilbert Burns. Now, granted, he had to survive. He showed his heart in that one. Gilbert did a lot better than what people remember. That was a weird one, though, still. We should I'd love to sit down and rewatch that one, too. Sam, it's a fight that a lot of people remember. It's a fight that people misremember a whole lot. Gilbert did very, very well in that one. He knocked him down. He got the finish. But then stayed on the ground.
Kamaru survives. He gets the knockout win over a guy that was terrible through the competition. I don't care that that just makes it look even better in my opinion. Like he
and
showed
his homie. It was his homie too.
Yeah, and that he fought his way through the adversity, dude. In a fight that a lot of people were picking against him, and so I mean, people talk about Colby being the biggest test of his career. It was Gilbert Burns, bro, and he knocked him out. He came back strong to win that one. Faces Jorge on short notice. I don't even people forget how short notice that was. They announced that fight. I mean, in early April, right?
That was also on short notice.
It wasn't short notice for as in a week's notice, but it was they announced that card in early April, and that card went down in early May. He had a 4-week camp. You can argue whether or not that's short notice. I think it's somewhat short notice. But yeah, dude, he turns right around and knocks the fuck out of him. So
that's up there for knockout of the year, by the way.
Completely ends the rivalry there. Turns right around, face off against, the guy everybody said, might beat him, how he might, he was his toughest test, and all the controversy from the first fight. I really don't think there was any controversy, but a lot of Colby fans think so. And he beats him. He beats him via decision. There's no more talking. There's no more competition. He's lapping these guys. And that's part of what makes Kamaru kind of uninteresting. I know that to you and a couple of other people, the fact that he is having to lap these guys because there's not a whole lot of
my whole thing was some of those matches didn't have to happen again. He didn't have to fight Colby again. He didn't have to fight Gamebred again. No. But he did, and those were 2 title defenses he repeated. Because what? How many total title defenses does he have now?
5, I believe.
4 of those, or 4 of those in total were with 2 guys repeated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Didn't need to happen.
And didn't need to happen.
Now, granted, at the time that he did the Jorge one, if I remember correctly, there wasn't a whole lot of... Really, the only person that's kind of been robbed by this whole situation is Leon Edwards. I mean, I like guys like Luque, but he wasn't on a crazy...
But even then, some of these could have... even then, those fights could have happened order, and it would have been a lot similar of a process, and then by that time, you would have had the Vicente Lugans in line, and then whoever else right now is out there, Sean Brady, whoever it is right now, Neil Mack. Mm-hmm. Or however ended up would have panning out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Overall, though, you can't argue against him. I think that's what makes it so impressive. It's we hate to give it to him because he's such an obvious pick, but he's an obvious pick for a reason. So yeah, that is...
Only if Oliveira could have fought one more time this year.
You can make a better case. You can make a whole lot better of a case, but unfortunately...
I don't even think you would have to make it the case. I think at that point you could actually say Oliveira over Kamaru, in my opinion.
Yeah, but, moving on, dude, that's the end of the Soundoff Awards. Those are all of our awards we're going to give out. Congratulations to the recipients. I'm sure you guys are really just dying to get your physical version, which do not exist.
Right?
Moving on, though. We're going to give our predictions. We did this back in 2020. Obviously, a lot of stuff that didn't happen. That's why we didn't do it this year. COVID obviously came about. That small thing you guys may have heard about. But we're going to go ahead and give them again. We're going to start off with the women. And... we're going to go from 115 all the way to 145. For the men, we're going to go 125 to 265. Starting off the women, the women's strawweight category. This is a division that's been putting out bangers relentlessly for the past, couple of years now. It's by far the best, women's division. But who do you got to be, at the end of 2022, who do you think is going to be the women's strawweight champion?
We actually got to say who we think it's going to be, not if it's going to change hands or not.
Oh yeah, we got to see who we think it's going to be.
Fuck. This actually kind of fucks me up.
Go ahead and just give a guess.
Look, the thing is, though, if you would have told me, do you think this title would change in this division, I would have said yes.
Okay, who do you think it's going to end with?
That's the issue, though. I don't know who it's going to end with. I'm going to give you a very, unconfident answer. I'm going to say Marina Rodriguez. I think she becomes UFC champ.
That's a nice pick. She's actually an underrated pick, in my opinion, for Women's Fighter of the Year.
She's a sleeper. Yeah, actually, yeah. Her and, oh, fuck. Why am I blanking on her name? Other Brazilian gal. I don't think she fought as much as... I'm thinking about Amanda Ribas, but that might have been last year when she had a good year.
She did pick up I think she picked up 2 wins this year.
Yeah, so that's another good one.
So, yeah, I think, Nice picks there. I think Marina Rodriguez is a nice pick. Solely because she's not very active, I'm actually going to pick Rose Namajunas to retain the title throughout next year. You know, so, like, historically wise, Rose, you know, I like her a lot, but she's never really been the most active fighter. Like, if you go back and look at her history, honestly, I mean, you can just go back to when she first got into title contention. She fought once in 2018, once in 2019, once in 2020. She fought 2 times this year. So she's generally only once to twice a year. I think she's probably going to fight Carla Esparza next. And that's a lot closer fight than what people think. I'm going to take Rose to win it, though. And I think that may be her only fight next year. She's not very active, just not being honest. So I'm going to pick her to end the year. I think it's the safest pick. Mm-hmm. Although I would not be surprised if Esparza ends the year as champ either. So
that'd be crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, dude, I like Rose a lot, and I also like Wei Li a lot. Wei Li was able to have a lot of success in the wrestling, and Carla is much, much better of a grappler. At least I mean, she's not as aggressive, but she's great on top. Mm-hmm. Especially great at getting takedowns. She's improved a lot as well. She's improved her finishing technique and all that stuff, so would not be surprised if Carla wins the belt either. Moving on, I'd say easiest pick. Do you think anybody takes the belt from Shevchenko?
No, dude. I mean, unless Talia Santos is really that chick, I feel like she'd be the one to do it. But right now, I wouldn't pick her. If there is a chick to do it in that division, though, it'd be her without a doubt. I mean, she's on a fucking train right now, dude.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I mean, and there's only 2 other people I could think that could do it. Obviously, Talia Santos is one of them. If she comes back, she was supposed to come back this year. But
I know what you're gonna say.
You know, Tatiana Suarez, potentially the only person who could do it.
She's a big what if right now, though.
She's such a big what if. If she comes back at this level that she left, fuck yeah, dude. No, not even a chance. I think she's like how impressive she was. Like, she was mauling people. Like, she was. It's crazy. It's sad to think about because she hasn't fought in almost 3 years now. But dude, she was so good. I mean, she was being looked at as a female Habib. Like, she wasn't losing a single round. Every single fight was so dominant. If she comes back healthy, she comes back good. I pick her to be champion, but that's such a big question mark right now. So I'm gonna go and take Shevchenko just to end the year as champ. Yeah, dude. Moving on. Women's bantamweight, obviously, you know, Nunes always an easy pick, but huge upset earlier this month. Do you think she regains the belt? Do you think somebody else ends the year champ at 135?
I mean, I don't think that Juliana will end up fighting anybody else outside of Amanda in a rematch, which makes me think there will only be one fight that year for the title, and it's not going to happen that early on. It'll happen midway through the year, unless she ends up defending it and fights in December, or Amanda ends up capturing and fights in December, which I don't think is likely either. So I think Amanda can regain it, though. I'd pick Amanda to get it back. I feel like most people would pick Amanda in a rematch, though.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I'm gonna go ahead and pick Amanda to get it back. I think she's gonna end the year as champion. I think you know, she said that in the aftermath that like her body locked up, how it was such a weird experience and all that. I don't know if I believe any of that. But what I will say is that I just think, like, matchup-wise, I think she had a bad night, dude. I think she had a rough fight. It was her first time coming back to 135 pounds in 2 years. There was a lot going against her, and she gassed out, and she was clearly winning that fight. She really finished her inside the first round. But yeah, dude, so I'm gonna take Amanda to get the belt back. But, you know, moving on to women's 145...
Oh, man.
Do you think that Amanda Nunes ends the year's champ?
Yeah, because Amanda Nunes is not even going to fight at that weight class next year.
You don't think so? Not once?
I don't think she'll fight once. Unless they sign Kayla Harrison and they're like, yeah, fuck the Juliana rematch.
So, you know, just here's the thing, right? I think that if I were to forecast the division, right, nobody's going to fight at 145 outside of one fight happening next year altogether. Because, I mean, if you look at the division, what 145ers do they even have? I mean, Leah Letson is still there, technically. She lost to Felicia Spencer, but she hasn't retired. Felicia retired. Megan Anderson's gone. Mm-hmm. I think Zara Farron is technically on roster still, but I haven't seen her. So
Daniel Wolf.
Oh, Daniel, Norma Dumont's there too, you know? So there are fights that can happen. But if I were to forecast women's fighting next year, I think Amanda Nunes is going to get the strap back in May-ish from Juliana Pena at 135. She's going to end the year fighting Kayla Harrison. I think Kayla Harrison's going to beat that ass, and I think she's going to become women's 145 champ.
What a fucking prediction right there. Holy fuck.
Look, dude, all I'm saying is sometimes you can tell in training. Obviously you can just tell by like body language and shit. Sometimes fighters get confident about certain things happening. Dude, she is, there's a reason why she's gunning hard for that fight.
Oh, yeah.
To get into the UFC. There's a reason. Like, she's gotta be getting the better of her training, otherwise she would not be trying so hard to get that fight. So yeah, dude, I'm gonna go and take Kayla Harrison end of year's champion. I'm not sure, that's a big kind of bold prediction because she's not even signed yet, and there's a whole lot that needs to go right, but I think it's all gonna go right. I think even if Nunes loses to Pena, I think she'll probably fight at 145 just to try and, defend that belt, and I think she'll lose that one too. I think Kayla Harrison's gonna win, dude. She's so good. I think that the lack of competition is the only thing holding her back. 'Cause she's so fucking good. I've always said that if as good as it is winning in certain fights, and like as important as competition is, dude, it's almost as important, even if you're beating bad fighters, to beat them in such a dominating capacity. And she's done that and more. Like it's not even a fight against some of these girls. But moving on to the men's side of things, dude, this is where things get tough. There's more divisions, a lot more uncertainty. We'll start off with the little men, the flyweights. Who do you got ending the year as champion?
There's a lot of question marks here, right? Because I think it's dependent on what they decide to do with certain people as far as where the division is. I was telling you before the pre-show, I'm telling you, Kai Kara France, right up there in the mix. I know he's ranked 6. The only reason he's behind Brandon Royval is because that loss was there. Alex Perez is right up there, but like I said, I still feel like Kai Kara is like slightly ahead of those guys, even with the recent losses. Pantoja, also some recent losses. Common opponent, Brandon current champ, also fought Davison. I feel like it isn't unrealistic for Brandon to be the champ next year, especially coming off that good of a victory, but then at the same time, Davison did have that botch weight cut, which makes you wonder. But regardless, even with the botch weight cut, that in the later rounds he slows down. And then if Brandon can keep that pace early on, I know I'm kind of previewing the fight. I don't mean to do that. But, you can imagine that maybe he can recreate it again. Now, he will probably end up fighting again and defending the title. That will either be Askar or Pantoja. I don't know if they're going to have those guys face off. I think that if he faced Pantoja, I think he beats Pantoja finally in a rematch. I feel like if I'm like, there's no way this guy gets this far and doesn't beat his demon at this weight class. We talked about it earlier last year. We're like, if there's one matchup that he needs to make for him to actually cement himself in his mind as champ and like justify him being champ at this weight class, it has to be that fucking Pantoja win. Because he's fought him twice and it hasn't been close either time.
For sure. And dude, Pantoja is a nice pick, but I think Moreno, it could just be that one performance, but it looks like he's finally hitting his stride. That being said, I have an outside pick. It's a man that I thought that could have ended the year with the belt this year, but obviously a whole lot changed, a whole lot happened. It just wasn't in the cards, man. I think Askar Askarov, undefeated. He had the draw with Moreno once before. He's going to fight Carl France in March. I assume the winner of that is going to be fighting the winner of Moreno and Figgy, the trilogy. I think regardless of who he faces, I think he's going to beat him, man. Taking Askar Askarov to end the year as champion. Regardless of a very fun weight class, not a whole lot of...
Great, I didn't say Pantoja, by the way. I was going to say Pantoja was one of the guys that I think if he rematches, he could beat.
Yeah. Fair. No, I got what you're saying.
Yeah. So my pick would have been Askar Askarov, just so you know.
Oh, shit, okay.
You cut me short a little there. You're good.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, dude, moving on to 135. Whole lot of options here.
Oh shit, what you mean, bro? I'm confident as fuck on this one.
Yeah, dude, there's a whole lot of options here, but who do you got to end the year as champion? I think I got a feeling who it's gonna be, though.
there's no question about it. I don't think anybody else does it outside of Peter Yan. I think he goes, rematches Aljamain with the interim title, becomes the official UFC champ. I think if he defends that title, he beats TJ or Jose, whoever they fucking throw at him, and he remains champ for the year and becomes the 135 king once again. I don't see anybody else at this moment in time in that division holding that title down for a while except him. It could be Aljamain. I just don't think Aljamain's going to be Peter. That's just my whole thought there. Like I said, when that fight ended up happening, in my opinion, it was going a certain direction, and I didn't think it was going to change. Going into this next year, they're going to fight that match again. They're going to rematch. Aljamain's going to be coming off surgery. It's going to be a tough one for Aljamain, and I don't think he's going to be able to get it done against Peter. I think it's the end of his short little title reign that was given to him via very technical circumstance, and it's just how it goes. I don't think there's anything or anybody else in this division who'd be a better option than Peter. We could run down each person, and I could give you a good reason why I don't think they'll be champ next year. And as far as like a matchmaking, I don't think some of those matches make sense at this moment in time. So I don't even think. I know they're gonna have TJ fight at some point, but TJ had that surgery, so I don't think that'll be quick anytime soon. And it's gonna happen very late in the year. So if Peter doesn't become champion, I think that'll happen like around November, maybe September next year. I don't know. I'm being very out there with this because obviously we don't know how the fight. Whenever the fight does happen, obviously injuries can happen after that and all that, and we can get into some specifics. But I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening there. I think this one for me is, as far as me, when it comes to any division, I think this is the most, at least for the guys, I think this is the most secure pick.
Yeah, man, you can't go wrong picking Peter Yan. I think there's a clear reason why, and I think it's just because if you look at the contenders across that division, right? Obviously, Aljamain holds a win over him. Aljamain does hold a win over him, but it is by DQ. And as much as I like Aljo, I had him winning that fight but it was like by the time of the stoppage. I mean, like you saw how the fight was turning. On the scorecards, I think technically 2 of the 3 judges had him winning too. Which is funny to think about because like if you think about that fight, everybody thinks a pure domination, but like Aljo was like doing a good job with the volume early, but you could tell like he gassed hard going for those takedowns. I wonder how the fight would have turned out had Aljo not like been trying to shoot for his life and getting gassed out because he's getting thrown around like a child. Like on the volume, on the feet, he was actually doing pretty nice, doing a lot of different feints, doing a lot of different looks. I don't think he beats him though. I truly don't. I mean, in terms of the only way that I think he beats him is if some sort of scramble happens. Because Aljo's submission and finishing skills are just phenomenal. But I think Aljo's going to end the year. I think Peter Yan's going to end the year as champion. I mean, if you look at the division, I like a lot of those dudes, dude. I really do. I like Corey, but he already lost to him. I think he beats the hell out of TJ. I mean, who else? He already beat Aldo. I like Dom Cruz, but Dom Cruz would not win that fight either. Like, I'd be interested to see how a guy like Merab deals with it, with his pressure and his wrestling. But I don't think it would go up for him either. So just in terms of, and I don't think he'll be in the conversation either for title by the end of 2022. So I'm going to go and take Petr Yan to end the year as champion. I think he's probably the safest pick. But moving on to 145, dude, there's really 2 options here.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I know, and you can't go wrong with either one. Who do you think ends the year as champion? Alexander Volkanovski or Max Holloway?
Dude, the Blessed Express, man. Max Holloway in the trilogy.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Obviously I thought he won the second fight. I think that even at the end of the first fight, the tide started to turn. It looked like he started having more success going southpaw, throwing a lot of different fakes, and kind of figured stuff out.
Also, Max in his last 2 fights due to comparative Volk, though. You gotta be honest. Like, I'm not pretty fucking impressive.
I know. That being said, I'm picking Volk to end the year as champion. Not because I think he'll actually, I don't know if he'll beat Holloway, but I think if Max wins the title, he's still gonna dip out. I think he's done with 145. I mean, if you just look at the way he's treated, like, he's gunning hard for that 155 fight against Conor, and even then, outside of that, I think he's just a little bit tired of it, man. I think like making that cut, he's only gotten older, and that gets harder as time goes on. And it wasn't even an easy cut for him a couple of years ago. So yeah, dude, I'm gonna go ahead and take Volkanovski end the year's champion, even if he loses that fight. Because if, for example, if he loses that fight, I think Holly's gonna move up regardless, just to kind of get that win back. And then I think Volk against anybody in a vacant title fight, I'd pick Volk over. So, yeah, dude, overall though, still a great division. I think that there's a lot of different options. But moving on to lightweight. This one, goddamn, what a division. As always, dude. I mean, you got, obviously, Charles Oliveira's the current champion. Justin Gaethje's waiting in the wings to challenge him for the title. Conor is set to return. You know, you still can't count out a guy like Dustin. And obviously, Islam Makhachev's making the rise up. Beneil Dariush is coming back, dude. There's so many different choices you pick for this one. Who do you think ends the year's champ?
I'm picking Oliveira, Josh. He's going to shock the world. He's going to keep shocking the fucking world, dude. He's going to still be champ by the end of 2022.
Dude, that's a nice pick. Very, very nice pick.
Josh is like, I love fantasy stories too.
I too love fantasy stories, bro. I love Chucky Olives, you know. I like Charles Oliveira a lot. I love his rise. I think he beats Gaethje. I think if he faces Conor, I think he beats him too. Actually, I take that back. I think Conor's one of the worst matches for him in the division, just because of how precise he is. But I'd still probably pick him. I think Islam Makhachev's going to end the year's champion. I don't think he's as unstoppable as everybody proclaims him to be.
Just wait till they go Conor that title shot.
You know, it's funny. I think if Conor gets the title shot, there's a very good chance he wins, which is something that people really need to get used to. Even against a guy like the problem with Conor, dude, is Conor comes out so precise, and I've maintained that if he was not facing, I mean, dude, Dustin Poirier probably has the best chin in the lightweight division. If he's not facing Dustin Poirier in that rematch in January, I think Conor might be the lightweight champion right now. Like, he was
it's a crazy idea, isn't it?
He was money, dude. People forget how good Conor looked in that first round up until he got, like, brutalized by the calf kicks. Like, he was money. Like, he was laying. Huh?
Even in the third one, right?
The third one, he wasn't as, like, he came out really aggressive because apparently he had the injury already. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't as precise. But in that second one, dude, I think if that Conor comes out against most people in the lightweight division, I think he beats him. Like, he was so precise. He was so quick, so fast, so powerful. That Conor, dude, I encourage people to go watch that fight because Dustin had to take a lot of bombs.
I know we're not like trying to talk about Conor. We talked about Conor a lot this last year, but do you think he's actually like, as far as MMA, he's still in it for this next year seriously? Like, do you still say Conor is a serious draw?
I do, yeah.
And not like as a, what is it called? I'm trying to think of the word. I want to word this properly, but kind of, not a joke, but kind of, not past his prime, but as far as him being in fights, it's more for show rather than actually like trying to chase the title.
Okay.
Yeah,
so at least in that, I think the thing about Conor is that nobody really knows how good he is. I think he's still in it to win it. I think to become champion. Because at this point, when you're as rich as Conor's the most rich combat sports athlete on the planet. It's either him or Canelo, but dude, Conor, he's number one this year, right? In terms of like the Forbes, because of the Irish whiskey shit, par for 12.
I mean, it's probably Canelo and then him second, probably without a doubt.
But like in terms of, at least for this year, he was the richest on the planet. Altogether, it might be Canelo or it might be a guy like LeBron, but like we're
talking combat though. We're not talking.
Yeah, but like, I'm talking in terms of like athletes.
Well, let me tell you this, dude. You never know how much money these fucking golfers make or these tennis players do. When I see those fuckers on the list, I'm like, what?
That's true, dude. A lot of those guys get a lot of money in sponsorships. Because a lot of like the top ones are the only ones that people know. So
yeah.
But yeah, dude. I mean, in terms of like, dude, Conor, the only reason he fights at this point is for show and for to become, add to his greatness, add to his legacy. Because he's so fucking rich, dude. Like, he could have retired after the Floyd fight and been fine. He's still coming back. He's still putting these huge fights together. And for a guy that's worth almost $1 billion, what's like another 10 mil gonna add to it? Not a whole fucking lot. He's really fighting for the legacy at this point. And I think the fact that he's fought Dustin these past 2 times, because remember back after he beat the shit out of Cowboy? And like, yeah, I understand Cowboy had been like, he lost 2 fights before that, but he hadn't gotten washed out of it in either one of those fights.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Conor demolished him in 30 seconds. People really thought, oh yeah, Conor's just
at
going to
welterweight.
and Conor's going to walk right into being fucking champion again. And then he fought the dude with the toughest chin in the division. Lost via injury once and lost via, come from behind knockout win for Poirier the second time. People were talking about Conor like he's fucking Tony Ferguson, bro. Like, people really are just kind of dunking on
Tony
him.
Ferguson's actually old now, though. No hate.
Yeah, in past his prime, but we don't know where Conor is my point.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think legitimately anything can happen with him. But if I were to pick end the year, I don't think Islam is as dominant as people want to see. People want to talk about him being the next Khabib. First of all, he's already lost. And second of all, just through watching, we can already tell that he's not as dominant as Khabib is, just from pure fighting style. I am going to go ahead and take Islam to end the year's champion regardless, though, just because if I look throughout the division, I think if there's a whole lot of question marks, but I think of all the scenarios possible, I would pick Islam to win, like, of the majority of the matchups that are available. So, yeah, I'm going to go take Islam, but it's not a confident pick by any means. Moving on to welterweight, this one's interesting just because I think there's a clear favorite, and I think there's a lot of different things that can happen. Who do you got ending the year as a 170-pound champ?
I mean, bro, it's gonna be Kamaru, more likely than not.
So?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, unless Hazmat's that guy, I think it'd be Hazmat.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
I mean, unless Luque shocks the world, dude. I mean, I think if there's a guy, and you said it forever long ago, that's your dark horse of that weight class. If there is a guy to shock the world, like if there's a guy to be like all Oliveira at this weight class, I think it'd be him.
He's interesting to me because I think at a certain point, and maybe even a certain point soon, Luque is gonna get cracked, man. Like, he
takes a fuck ton of damage. That is the issue.
He takes so much damage, and eventually that's gonna wear on you. And the older you get, the harder it gets. And I might even pick Luque to beat Kamaru, straight up, just skill for skill. I mean, Luque is dangerous off his back. He's dangerous on the mat. He has tons of punching power. But even then, like,
he's good on the feet.
Good on the feet, obviously. But at a certain point, that chin's going to crack, and it's going to be hard to watch. And I think that might be approaching it soon. So I'm not going to pick Luque. And Kamaru, I was going to pick Kamaru. But I truly think the way the division is going to play out, I think the end of next year is going to have
Sean Brady.
No. I like Sean, but no. I think the year is going to end with Kamaru facing off against Hazmat, and I'm going to take Hazmat, dude.
Whoa, the fucking Texas.
I think Kamaru's got 1 foot out the door. He's pretty much said that he has 1 foot out the door, and I'm not even sure if he may just beat Leon and dip. Like, he really might, and I'm not even sure if he beats Leon. I think Leon's very slept on. I could totally see if Kamaru pulls the shit that he pulled in the second Colby fight, where, like, he tries to keep the fight on the feet. And obviously you could say that he respected Colby's wrestling, but I don't think he really did. If he tries to keep that fight on the feet, dude, I think Leon can totally outpoint him. But we'll have to see what happens. I am going to take Hazmat to end the year as champion, though. Just because the way it's going to play out, I think he's probably going to go ahead and fight once against a top contender, maybe Bilal Muhammad, and I think he's going to beat him. And then I think he's going to end up, moving on, fighting for the title. I don't think he's going to beat Kamaru, or even if Kamaru's not there, I think he's going to fight whoever is there for the title. I think he's going to beat him.
Just you wait for Rumble in the Jungle, dude. John Jones versus Ngannou, and fucking Izzy and Kamaru for the 185 title, dude. I'm saying it right now, dude.
Hasn't Kamaru already said he's not going to fight for the belt if Izzy has it?
Oh, yeah, we've talked about it. No, he said the money would have to be pretty he's put out a pretty ridiculous number for them to fight for it.
Well, yeah, I think he said 100 mil, but obviously 100 mil, that's not going to happen at all. I think he just threw out high numbers.
Granted, though, I feel like if they got, like, a pretty good number, he maybe take it. Like, it'd have to be pretty up there, but I think if they got like a realistic, really good number, it'd be like, okay, this is kind of unavoidable. You know what I mean? Like, it's some life-changing money. I think if there was some like life-changing money that is just like, if he doesn't take this, it's actually one of the biggest mistakes of his life. I think that's when he would do it, because like he did give that ridiculous of a number, but that's just to put out like the magnitude of importance it is to him and what it will take for him to fight his friend. Whereas, realistically, if the right number's put out there, he'll fight him for this much, and that amount will be more realistic, whatever that realistic amount is. I don't know what that realistic amount would be, or whatever feasible amount it would be for him, but he also has to think about where they are as stars in the UFC and in the grand scheme of all combat, right? Like they're known, but at the same time, it's not to the extent where they could make 100 mil. And even if he did, and he's not even that big of a name to call out a guy like Canelo, which I know that sounds kind of like, when you look at the UFC, he's probably one of the biggest names, but it's like, it's not big enough to get you that Canelo fight, dude, because I don't even think Conor at this point, if he really wanted to, he could get the Canelo fight. Which, we could debate about that. I don't know if you agree with me on that. But it's definitely something that you could throw out there and bring into question whether or not there is something there or not. But it'll be a money thing. Like I always tell you, if the money's there, people will do things. With them though, I don't know if realistically it'll ever happen, but it's an option. I'm saying as a joke, right? I said Rumble in the Jungle, Jones versus Ngannou, and fucking Izzy and him for the 185 title, and his attempt at becoming champ, which. Like I said, what are the odds of that ever happening? They won't, because, no one wants to give us what we want.
Okay. Yeah, and so tomorrow was a good pick overall. Like you said, the Izzy fight might happen. But speaking of Izzy, moving on to 185 pounds. I think there's another clear pick here. But who do you got ending the year's champ?
He's cleared out that division. Unless Derek Brunson comes out here with that supposed game plan now, I doubt it's going to happen.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't see any capacity in which anybody but Israel Adesanya ends the year's champion. Like, I truly don't. If you look at
it's so crazy how it's not even close in that division, right?
It's not even close. And as much as I like Robert Whittaker's going to have to fight. And it's possible, too. Let me say this much. It's possible that Whittaker can fight the perfect fight of his life and win the second fight. But even if he wins the second fight, I don't think he's going to be able to replicate it for the third. Like, I think he'll have to fight a perfect fight. Like, as good as Robert is, if you were to build somebody from scratch and say, who do you want to fight Robert Whittaker to beat him? It's Israel Adesanya. And it's so unfortunate because Robert is so fucking good, dude.
That crazy.
He's so good. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take Izzy. Whittaker is a live dog, but I would be surprised if he won. Especially considering we saw how decisive the first fight was.
What's going to happen with that division, dude, next year? Because it really is going to be stale after that.
He'll fight the winner of Cannonier Brunson.
Because I think the only way that's kind of interesting for me is if Cannonier wins that fight. But it's going to be like, damn, Brunson had all those wins. You know what I mean? It's going to be like such an L for him.
True. But even then, Cannonier would be a fresh matchup, but I think he would lose even worse than Brunson would. I don't see a way Cannonier wins that, honestly.
No. I don't.
I'd give Brunson, even though Brunson got washed out the first time.
But what I'm saying is,
him a better shot.
After 2022, 185 is going to be kind of stale.
True. Maybe the winner of Hermanson, Strickland, maybe.
I guess that'd be one of the next guys. I think Strickland more than anything, right? Not so much Hermanson. I feel like they'd still want Hermanson to get maybe 1 or 2 wins after that. He'd definitely have to fight like a Vittori Paulo type after that. Or Robert type.
Maybe. I think it depends on how the division shakes out.
I think if Hermanson wins. I'm saying if Hermanson wins. If Sean wins,
yeah,
maybe one more fight and it doesn't even have to be one of those guys.
True. I don't know, man. It'll be interesting. He's kind of pushing Sean Strickland right now, which is weird because...
I know, he's dangerous to have on camera.
I'm not sure if they want him as champion, but they seemingly do.
I think, what's the saying? All publicity is good publicity?
Yes, until you're talking about being a neo-Nazi and murdering people. Like, as fun as it is for us to watch, as like fans of the sport, because we're used to this shit. Like, Good Lord, dude. Could you imagine if he becomes champion?
Hey man, but it's a good story. It's a good story though. He changed, don't you think? Come on.
But he didn't change. He still talks about wanting to murder people.
Yeah, but he's not talking about being a neo-Nazi though. Like he's not saying.
Oh, okay, you're right.
He's not.
He's diversity personified now.
You know what I mean though? Like he's not like saying anything like that. Like, you know, you could be like, you know, something, this guy used to have these crazy fucked up thoughts about, you know, being, well, fuck, never mind, you're right.
He's had crazy fucked up thoughts about killing black people. Now he only thinks about killing people, you know? He's evolved.
He's taken away color. Now it's just generalized.
Now he just wants to kill anybody. You know, it doesn't. He's not even racist anymore. He just wants to murder anybody. What a cool story, bro.
They probably don't want him to be champ.
But you know what? We'll see what happens, man. See what happens. I think fucking Israel would kill him. That's terrible.
I think he'd be a fun matchup though. I think he'd be a tough guy.
He'd be fun, but I don't see a way that he's even competitive. Like I could see him staying in there because he's so durable. And, you know, he fights a lot of pressure, but
maybe he'd get him down one time. We don't know.
Maybe. You know,
the guy, though, Izzy isn't even bad on the ground, though. That's the thing.
That's true. Izzy's actually very underrated on the ground. But, you know, moving on, man. Moving on to light heavyweight. Very interesting division here. There's a lot of up-and-comers, a lot of guys that are around. Obviously, the champion, Glover Teixeira, absolutely goated after his last win. But who you got ending the year as a 205-pound champion?
I got Yuri Prochazka, man. I think he gets it done.
I do too. I'm gonna take Yuri. I think he beats Glover, and after Glover, there's no real. There's no clear option after Glover either.
I feel like they're gonna get Rakic, but they're gonna be like a super fan of that. And then I think behind Rakic, it could be Smith or Magomed Ankalaev.
That's true. You know what's funny? If the division had a more clear area, and also if Yuri fought more often, because Yuri's had like 2 fights in like 3 years or something. Like Yuri, obviously there's COVID going on, but he's never been the most active guy historically. If the division was more active, Yuri's more active, I'd probably pick Magomed Ankalaev. I think he can be champion sooner rather than later. I just don't know if it'll happen within the next 12 months. But, yeah, I'm gonna pick Yuri to end the year's champion, and then move on to heavyweight. This one, obviously there's a heavyweight title fight going down in January, but there's no, you know, that fight's very, very close, and after that, there's no real, you know.
It's gonna be Stipe. It's gonna be Stipe or Jones, dude.
Oh God, please no.
That's not even unrealistic though.
No, I know, sadly. Who do you got ending the year's champion though?
Francis Ngannou.
Really?
Yes, just you fucking wait.
Francis Ngannou, not a bad pick. Obviously, the current champion, he's got enough power to beat anybody. I'm gonna take Cyril Gane, man.
Gosh, he can knock you out. I love how this has been my meme today.
Dude, I'm gonna take Cyril Gane, man. I think that fight is gonna be very intense, very interesting. And I'm still debating. Let's just say this: whoever wins that fight's getting the year's champion. Like whoever wins between Gane and Ngannou will end the year's champion.
You don't think Jones could end the year's champion?
I think if Jones fights either one of those guys, he's gonna get fucked up. I think either one. I think if he fights Cyril, he's gonna get outpointed to death.
But Josh, he's the GOAT, dude. He's gonna beat anybody. It doesn't matter the weight class. 125 or 205.
He'll really, dude. The only time that John Jones picked up a win in the last 2 years is his life. Okay, he's not beating anybody. Which we're not. Let's just be clear on this since we're talking about John Jones. I'm not going to be the guy to pick him. I'm not going to be a part of John Jones' rehabilitation tour, bro. I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not.
Josh, but he's changed, Josh. He's changed.
He's changed again, you know? I'm not going to do it. You know, I'm not going to pick, and even if you were talking
Josh, he's trading with Henry Cejudo, dude. He went to his house and ate his mom's food. He's a good person.
You know, dude, you know what? This is like the equivalent of the NFL version of like Antonio Brown going to live with Tom Brady. Like,
wait, what, that was a thing?
It's a thing. He's living with Tom Brady.
I'm sorry.
He lives in his guest house, I believe.
What the fuck? See, that's a smart choice for him, though.
He's helping him change.
But he's actually helped him change, though. That's the thing.
No, he really hasn't, though.
Really? Has it gotten worse? I haven't kept up.
Antonio Brown literally just got suspended for having a fake vaccine card.
You know something? That shit was funny, though. I'm not even finna cap.
No, it was really funny, but like, he's, he hasn't changed in slightest. I mean, at least he keeps it under wraps sometimes. Like, nobody thought Antonio Brown was crazy up until, like, 2019. But apparently there was a lot of shit that went down.
You know, the way his year started and then he ends up winning a fucking ring, isn't that how crazy is fucking reality, right? For some people.
Right? Good for him. But, back to the actual topic. I'm not gonna pick John Jones. Even if we're talking purely about fighting, not about the drama, I don't see a way that he ends the year as champion. Because I think Ngannou...
Wait, Josh, he's a firefight. Wait, wrong guy.
Oh God, man. Oh God.
Josh, he's a public defender. He goes out there with his dog and does that was it that advanced shooting?
Dude, he's a Marine, bro. Have you not seen his Instagram?
He's a vigilante, dude.
Yeah, man. Even if we're not talking about John Jones, a human being, which is just despicable, I would go ahead and I'd still take him to lose. Again, I think he beats the rest of the division. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. I think Cyril Gane is a terrible matchup for him on the feet, and I think Ngannou would knock him out. John is way too hittable, especially nowadays. I mean, back in the day, he used to be pretty good with rolling with punches, but dude, Dom Reyes, if he gets hit with some of the shots Dom Reyes lit him up with, like,
man,
oh my God.
Dom Reyes.
Shout out Dom Reyes, R.I.P. him.
I hope he has a great 2022 comeback, by the way.
Me too, dude. I would love to see Dom Reyes pull back, just because that's such an unfortunate situation, dude. That's such a bad situation. I mean, he beat the GOAT. He did. I mean, and he didn't...
I mean, at the same time, though, I think, like, some of that shit fucked him up, though, in his following fights, and he had a fast... I don't even say a fast turnaround, but it was just, like, it was a terrible matchup.
Well, this is what I talked about immediately in aftermath. I'm like, dude... Even if he wins, like, it's gotta be so demoralizing to do everything you did, have the world, like, see, like, at this point, as time's gone on, it was like, oh yeah, Dom won that fight. In the moment, it was less clear, but everybody's kinda like, oh yeah, Dom won that fight. Unless you're like the most hardcore John.
They were both two shitty losses, too.
I know, he got knocked out in both of them.
And disgustingly, too, on both.
Exactly. But dude, to go from that, where, like, you beat the GOAT, like, everybody sees it, but you don't have the belt around the waist. Nobody looks at you as champion because, like, you technically didn't win. Like, everybody thought you won the fight, but even then it's like, you know.
He's been silent, by the way. I haven't heard from him in forever.
We got knocked out horrifically. I'm glad he's taking time off.
But yeah, I haven't seen anything. I haven't heard of him. I haven't even, like, seen him at pay-per-views. Like, he's taking... I don't even know. I haven't looked at his Instagram in forever. I should go check that out here in a minute. Yeah.
But it's gotta be so demoralizing. I'm like, no wonder the dude fell off, dude. Like, it's so hard to, like, have that happen to you and then have to come back and act like, you know, I'll win the belt. Like, it's such a demoralizing thing, man. So no wonder he's not, like, no wonder he hasn't performed well. Like, it's so depressing. But at least, like, moving on from that, man, that's all of our awards, that's all of our predictions for next year. Quick couple of, news hitters, just a quick couple of things to talk about. Forward to, you know, end the show, end 2021 on a good note. Eagle FC recently signed Kevin Lee. It was a signing. A lot of people thought he was going to go to Bellator. A lot of people thought he was going to PFL. Instead, he goes to Habib Nurmagomedov's promotion, which is making their U.S. debut next month. His fight's going to be in the U.S. in March, and they've been making a lot of big signings recently. They signed, obviously, you know, Rashad Evans. They signed Henan Barao, Tyrone Spong, Sergey Karatanov, and now they signed Diego the Nightmare Sanchez. Obviously, those two are going to square off, Kevin Lee and Diego, at 165 in March. I've heard the fight's not officially signed yet, but verbal agreements, all that shit. Yeah, man, interesting fight. A lot of people actually really fucking hate this one. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, that's a weird two guys who are gonna fight. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how I feel about Diego and Kevin Lee fighting. I think if it was Kevin Lee fighting some other guy, maybe a local guy, I feel like that'd be interesting. As far as, like, 165 being a division, though, I think that's pretty cool. And I mean, I've always thought there should be a 165. I don't know why there isn't. And it'd just be easier for how they all went up by fives.
Because Dana hates money, I guess.
Yeah.
For a guy that, he loves putting interim titles on the line, but, like...
It almost... but at that point, what would the difference be between an interim title and another division? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's just weird. Like, he loves interim titles. He loves making, like, pointless fights, but then, like, you don't want to add another belt that, like, people are begging for. Like, not so much anymore, but, like, for a long time there, people wanted 165, and I love it. I think Kevin Lee is the ideal guy. He's too small for 170. and he's too big for 155. So I think it's an awesome division. I think Diego Sanchez.
Ooh, I'll put you in a tough position.
Go ahead.
Dana's like, you guys can choose atomweight or 165.
165.
Really?
I love atomweight, but I'm not going to do it.
Really? I'd take atomweight over 165. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's surprising.
Hey man, I support the ladies, Josh. I support feminism just because you're a sexist pig. No,
oh my god. I have touted the atomweight division for a long time, but I just, of the options, I think not atomweight, I think light welterweight would be a great division to have, and I'm glad that Khabib is doing it.
In my opinion, they could also fill it much quicker than 165.
That's true. But how do you feel about this specific this specific fight of Kevin Lee taking on Diego Sanchez, who was in the hospital for COVID last month?
It's a freak show. It really is. Also, on top of that, how do you feel about Diego making 165?
I think that's fine. I mean, Diego fought at 170.
I mean, it's only 5 pounds, but he is a little older, coming off COVID. I mean, there's a couple factors.
That's true. And here's the thing, is I'd actually be fine with this fight if it was happening in, August or something. If Diego had, more time to prepare, because, as washed as Diego is, the thing that's always been interesting about him is he's so, he's always been wild on the feet. In his later years, he got worse
I got a better question. Who do you think they could have got to fight at 165 against Kevin Lee, who would have been?
That's the problem. I don't know.
And honestly, now, with just you saying that, I almost feel like Diego isn't even that bad of an option now.
It's not. And the thing about Diego is, had he not had COVID, had he not be hospitalized, had this fight been happening in August or something, I wouldn't even have a problem with it, just because, the pure grappling aspect of it would be completely dope. You can't tell me that would not be fun. Diego's one of the best grapplers in the fucking game, bro. Yeah, man.
I'm really trying to think of who they could have got who's not in the UFC or could have been cut recently. I don't know. I really don't know. Fuck. Jason Knight. No, I was kidding. I don't know who would have been a good option. Who is available right now outside of UFC, outside of Bellator, who they could have got to fight at 165 against Kevin Lee. I don't think there is anybody who would have been a great option off the top of my head. Even an older guy.
That's the problem about starting a new promotion is a lot of the guys that Khabib are going to get, you're going to get the young prospects, right? You're going to get the guys out of Russia, out of Dagestan, all that stuff. That's cool. But whenever you're coming with established names, there's sometimes it comes in waves where guys will be released for the big names and all that. But a lot of those guys have already been scooped up by Bellator and PFL. Kevin Lee was one of the legit only free agents out there that was a really big name. And luckily they got him, but Diego was a name out there that's just one of the bigger ones. But even then, he's coming off of COVID. Like I said, if this fight was happening in August and he had more time to prepare, I'd be fine with it. Because Kevin Lee, for as much as we love him, he did not look he wasn't even a top 15 fighter when he left, dude.
Not anymore.
There's a reason why he got cut, and he has one round of gas, and whenever Diego was actually training with an actual team, he was winning fights. He beat the shit out of Mickey Gall. He beat guys like Alex White. He was
Come on, Josh, you don't think, Sensei Fabia.
Sensei Fabia
wasn't doing a good job with Diego? You don't think he was doing a good job with him, Josh? He needs to throw more Tyson punches, Josh.
That was so fucking stupid, dude.
You don't like that video of Diego on the on the sex swing, blindfolded upside down, getting punched in the head by Joshua Fabia? You don't think that's advanced training techniques that could benefit Diego?
I'm gonna say no, man. I'm gonna say no.
Okay. God.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna switch topics now, man. I think we spent enough time on this as we have, as we possibly can. It's a weird fight. I think
it'll be a fun event, though. All jokes aside, I think it'll be a fun event.
Yeah, it can be. I think it can be. I think we just got to see how Eagle FC does things, honestly. I think they could build this fight up to be very interesting, but we'll have to see. Other quick news. Miesha Tate moving down to 125, most likely. She said that she does not want to fight her friend, I don't know if they trained together. I believe they did.
She trained her on Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, she does not want to fight Juliana Pena, friend, former training partner, and she's moving down to 125. Jessica Andrade offered herself as a potential first opponent, and apparently that fight that may happen next. How do you feel about that one?
That would push her to a title shot really quick.
Well,
I feel. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Or get her or at least put her in a highly ranked position at that point.
They got to, because Misha versus Shevchenko is a somewhat interesting fight. I mean, I'd pick Valentina 10 times out of 10, but, it's a name, former champion.
She could beat some of the gals up there, though.
For sure, dude. Like, come on. I'd pick Misha against Lauren Murphy any day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I don't disagree with you. I think I'll put it this. She could at least be ranked above Jessica Eye.
For sure. I think that I think Andrade is actually a terrible matchup. Like, if they're trying to get Misha to a title shot, that's probably one of the least winnable fights they can do. Like, I'd pick Andrade in that one. But
she can move up this division quick. I think if
she can.
Yeah.
And I think she will. I think she will. I just think that's a bad matchup. I wouldn't make that one personally, but I would not be surprised if UFC did. Like, UFC, for whatever reason, 125, they have the weirdest matchmaking. Like, for example, when they needed a contender, and, maybe Cynthia Calvillo can be that person, she's a name, they decided to throw her to the worst possible matchup in Jessica Andrade, who wasn't even going to be fighting at 125 anymore, so now they have no contenders. Like, it doesn't, they have weird fucking matchmaking in that division, bro.
I'll put it like this, dude. Jessica has lost 3 fights in a row.
Yeah.
And she's ranked number 9. Yeah, I thought she did, but she's technically lost her last 3, and she's ranked number 9, and now they're putting her against Manon Ferro, who, not a good matchup for her.
Yeah, true. That's a rough one.
So she's about to be 4-0 here soon. No disrespect. Or 0-4.
Yeah, man, though. Moving on. Junior Dos Santos taking on Kubrat Pulev in Triller. That is Triller Fight Club. I guess it'd be Triller Triad Combat, not boxing. This is going to be in their Triad Combat series. That's going to be the main event for a fight in March. Also, Vitor Belfort taking on Chad Dawson. Any interest in either one of these matchups?
Is it a Triad? It's Triad Combat, right?
It's Triad, yeah.
I mean, I'll watch it. Do I think it's a good idea for JDS? No, not at all.
Yeah, that's true. I think this is going to be a rough one. Although, Vitor Belfort, Chad Dawson, I actually like a lot. Chad Dawson, I believe, formerly fought Bernard Hopkins. He hasn't been top level for, I'd say, 5 or 6 years now. But shit, Vitor's not either, and he's going to be on the Sazul going into that one.
Yeah, so, Vitor's on the sauce, dude.
Yeah, he's on everything apparently. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll watch it. I won't feel good about watching the JDS fight, but depending on what's around it, I'll be somewhat interested. And last topic, somewhat in the boxing realm. Let me rephrase. Coming off of something in the boxing realm. Luis Ortiz is going to be taking on Charles Martin on pay-per-view. Day 1. January 1st. Is there any interest for you in this one?
Not really. I might check it out. I'll probably catch the result on Twitter, if anything.
Fair enough. If you were to go ahead and pick right now, who do you got between these two?
Just now, without really looking, I'm just gonna say Ortiz, just so I have the sake of saying something.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm same page. Yeah, I think PBC is hurting hard right now, which is why they're putting this fight on pay-per-view. Now, granted, it's only $40. They're doing a similar thing where they're bumping their pay-per-views down to $40, and they're having not as big of stars, like Luis Ortiz is fighting on this one. I think Keith Thurman's fighting in March, against Mario Barrios for $40.
Who else are they having on that card, though?
Leo Santa Cruz.
I guess that's that's a name, but not everybody knows him, you know what I mean? It's a good guy. Don't get me wrong, a legitimately good guy, but I mean, pay-per-view wise though, granted though, there's very few guys in boxing who could sell pay-per-views like that.
Yeah, I was actually wrong. It's going to be not in March, in February. They're going to have Keith Thurman, Mario Barrios, Leo Santa Cruz is going to be back. Josito Lopez is going to take on Abdul Hamos, and Luis Neri is going to be fighting on that one as well.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun card, actually.
That actually sounds like a low-key banger card.
In comparison to this one, not as fun. I'm looking through it now, and
this one's pretty garbage. Yeah.
No, it's tough.
It's a tough sell, very tough sell. Yeah, man, but that's all we got for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Went a bit long, man. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, it's gonna be our last podcast for 2021. Still waiting to see if we're gonna do one next week, just because. I mean,
wait, Josh, we didn't give our 3 predictions for 2022. If you
oh my God, you're right. You're right. Oh man, good save there.
I saved it.
I forgot to put in the rundown. That's my bad. So obviously, something that we did last year, which I can't remember what our picks were, our predictions rather.
I remember one of mine. I can't remember both. I can't remember the other 2.
Fair enough. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and give our just 3 predictions. Don't have to be bold. They don't have to be anything. 3 predictions for the next calendar year, either MMA or boxing. Take your pick. Angel, you can go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? Were you just not
Considering
prepared?
I forgot about this topic, yes, I would prefer if you went first.
Okay. Let me think which one I want to say first, because I have them ready right here. I guess I'll start with the, I don't know where I want to start. I guess I'll start here. I think Jones fights at heavyweight finally next year. He finally fights next year at heavyweight. One time at least. I feel like that's pretty realistic. I feel like he'll probably fight Stipe, maybe Derek Lewis. Maybe they'll give him just a straight up winner of Ngannou and gone. Maybe even the loser. Fuck it. I don't know exactly what their plan is, but I don't think those are unrealistic options going into 2022. My second one is I think 3 belts change hands next year. At least 3. Not getting into specifics. I just think that 3 belts will be held by 3 different people next year at a different weight class. At 3 different weight classes. At least 3. And then my other one, I think Jake Paul only fights 1 time next year.
You know what? I actually think every single one of those things will happen. Because I think
pretty good ones.
I think those are actually very good ones. Yeah, I think 3 belts changing hands, probably more than likely, honestly. John fighting at heavyweight, I think, unless he gets into more trouble, I think that's most likely. And then, Jake Paul, he said he's going to take some time off. He's probably going to fight in July. I think he loses that one. After he loses that one, he's probably going to have to recalibrate, I guess, obviously, that's depending on who he fights, But it seems like his most likely options right now are Anderson Silva, Tommy Fury, or Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I think he loses every single one of those ones. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. My 3 predictions as of now, these are, I obviously thought about these in the moment. I forgot to put them in the rundown, but Conor McGregor will fight for a UFC title within the next 12 months. Which title that is, lightweight, welterweight, I don't know. He will fight for a
featherweight.
Strap. No, potentially, who knows? I see him fighting for a strap within the next 12 months. 100%.
Wow.
I also...
That's pretty out there, at least in my opinion.
I don't think it's that crazy.
I mean, it's Conor. I think that's the one thing he'll always have, but still.
Yeah. Moving on, I believe that a UFC fighter, this one's very generalized. I'm not sure what Anyways, I believe a UFC fighter will leave the UFC, or that is already out of the UFC, will win a massive boxing match next year. Now, whether that's against Jake Paul, whether that's Anderson Silva fighting a former name, getting a big win, I don't know. My main reasoning is that one of our boys got to get one of these back, all right? One of them got to get it back, okay? Like, it's just...
are you saying like a major win in the sense like it's going to be a big name? It's just going to be like some guy...
It won't be for a title, but it will be a big event, and they'll get a big win. Okay. Now, what that is, I'm not sure. I most likely will come in the form of a Jake Paul or Logan Paul fight, and one of our boys will get it back.
Whoever it is, okay.
So, and lastly, I believe... Damn, man, this is actually tough. I really should have thought of this beforehand. This is my bad, everybody.
God damn it, Josh. You sent me the list days before, and you can't even...
I know. I forgot. I sent the list days in advance. That's why this is so bad.
I'm surprised I didn't see it on there, and I'm like, I assume he just knows.
No, I didn't. I completely forgot about this topic.
I mean, if you can't think of another one, I think you're fine. Two is pretty good.
2 is good, but 3's even better. Okay, so if I were to go and think real quickly, dude, you know what I think is going to happen? I think that somebody big. This is actually, that's way too generalized. Let me just go ahead and rephrase. I think that John Jones will retire within the next 12 months.
Okay.
I think he's going to fight.
I think if he would have said a major star in the UFC retires the next year, I don't think that would have been too out there. I actually thought about saying that myself.
I was going to say that, but I thought that was way too generalized, especially considering I was already thinking of John Jones to begin with. I think he loses at heavyweight, and I think he gets smashed. I don't think
I was thinking Nunes and Jones and Conor, all as 3 potential options, and I thought about putting that on my thing. I didn't do it because I wasn't sure, but I think
if Nunes was going to retire, I thought it would have been after her last fight. I think if Conor were to retire, it'd probably also be after his last fight. So
not according to him, though.
Fair enough, man.
Like you said, it's not over.
It's not over. So I'm going to go ahead and take John Jones to retire because I think he's going to fight heavyweight. I think he's going to get absolutely smashed. And I don't know if his ego can take that.
I smashed him, brother. You should have just said Hazmat's going to be champion next year.
Oh, I already said that, though.
I know, but you should have made an official prediction, on
Okay, well, yeah, Hazmat will be next champ. We'll be champ next year.
Let's go, champ.
That's it. Let's go, champ. Yeah, though. Hope you guys enjoyed. Apologize for my rough predictions there, but I think you guys got the idea. Made it work. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at _01 at Courtside Sound for all things related to the show. As always, rate us on Spotify. Those ratings just came out. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Give us a like. Give us all that nice stuff. Hope you guys enjoy the podcast as always. And I'm out. Peace and bug grease. Nice quick.